So here we are at Staples Corner, a very busy road junction that many of you will be familiar with. And over in that corner, the grey building, which is now a Jaguar showrooms, is where Staples mattress factory was. And then beyond that, a blue building, which is now storage sheds and distribution stuff, which used to be the site of Kemp's biscuit factory. So I'm just going to turn around here. We've got a new Renault showrooms, which I think it was Vauxhall before. I'm just going to walk along a little bit here and show you this Travelodge that we're coming up to. Quite exciting stuff this, isn't it? Moving pictures. That Travelodge there, which is originally I think a school recently, a few years ago, and then prior to that probably just offices. I think someone said it might have been a police station, but that I'm not 100% sure of. The site of this used to be, back in the late 1930s, something called Car Mart, which was a big showrooms and garages. Car Mart had been around for a long time and eventually taken over by a company called Kenning, so it became Kenning Car Mart. So this is now Travelodge Brent Cross. What a lovely place to stay. Lovely views. And we're just coming up to, you can see that is the railway line, the main line, coming out of St Pancras. Could have got that wrong. And this is the stream running in, or the river running into the Welsh Harp Reservoir, which is over on the other side of the road. It's the feeder in. And this site here, so where the Car Mart showrooms was originally, was just vacant land up until about 1936 when it was built on. This whole area has seen dramatic change over the last 100 years. And we're now going to walk on and I shall show you something else. So this building here, bigger shot there, look, this building here was originally the Camillatone Hair Beauty Products factory. Not much of it actually left there underneath all of that modern-ish look. As you can see, it's now, or has been, a tile bathrooms and kitchens place. But it looked very, very different in the 1930s. Once you just turn around, you can see here was the site of the old Welsh Harp, basically where the other side of the road was, roughly. It was pulled down in around about 1970-71. We'll have a look at that in a minute. So I'll take you to all the west faces. This is just past the railway bridges, or the railway bridge and the flyover, Staples Corner. Over in the distance there, beyond all this wild mass, is what used to be the RAC centre, traffic centre, years ago. It's a church now, I think. All this was all redone in the 70s, and what was originally on this site, going back a bit, was the Hendon dog racing stadium. Hard to believe, isn't it? It was there until around about 1971, 72. I know it was here by 71 because they filmed an episode of Budgie here with Adam Faith. So let me show you a bit more of this in a minute. So I'm now on a walkway above the road, whatever bit of road this is, because it's the A406 I think. And I don't know if you can see there's a bit of graffiti on a white wall over there. It says Shore or something like that. Back in 1987 was where two locomotives from the freight yards there at Cricklewood ran off and crashed into the road. So some of you remember that. You can see the trucks trundling over this enormous expanse. Wonder of the age back in the 70s is. It's a horrible graffiti. Mr. 10-foot, who seems to be very adept, has managed to do the old bridge over here as well. So as I said, this is roughly, in this land here was where there was a dog racing stadium, and people used to come and spend their money for a lucky win. And beyond there, of course, is the Brent Cross shopping centre. All this area is going to be dramatically changed in the next few years, certainly over this direction, because they're going to be building, or have started already, Brent Cross Town. Big new development. You can see cranes and stuff in the distance. So yes, as I said, this area has seen enormous changes in the last 100, certainly 150 years. I think you came back here 150 years ago, it would have been actually part of the Welsh Harp through here, I believe. I know you might find that hard to believe, but the Brent Reservoir used to come out as far as here, and then they drained the land off by the early 1900s. Of course, I could be wrong, and you can correct me. There you go, there's the slip road up onto the M1, taking you to exotic locations like Mill Hill and the north. So I just moved on a little bit from where I was last time, and there we can see in all its glory the Jaguar showrooms. It was Staples office furniture, and prior to that, Staples the mattress factory, and that went all the way along past Screwfix and where Tops Tiles is. Back in the day when it was built in 1925 or opened, it would have been out in the countryside almost, really. It's the Edgware Road going up to Cricklewood. And say, as I said before, this is where the freight yards were. So this just was like a shunt point, and there was loads and loads of railway trucks all parked up, ready to be taken to wherever they needed to go and shunted back through Cricklewood. And now all of that sort of stuff is in sopping great big juggernauts like that, heading off to various locations. You wonder what this area is going to look like in 100 years' time. I wonder whether this flyover will still be here. I believe there are some concerns about its structural integrity, but that's not for me to say, eh? Lovely. I was going to get on that bus, so you can get a little bit more video from me as I walk up to wherever the next bus stop is, I guess. Anyway, I can fill you in with a little bit more history. Love it. Okay. So all of this land behind here would have originally been all to do with the Welsh Harp Inn. It's all incredibly overgrown, but there was pleasure gardens. You could take a boat out onto the reservoir, you could fish, and in a very famous song of its time was sung by a lady called Miss Adams. I forget what her first name is, but it was called the Welsh Harp, the jolliest place that is out. Strange phrasing. You wonder what you might be able to find over there in that land. So yes, it would have been roughly, as I said, roughly where the road is where the pub would have been, and approximately around about the point of where the bus stop was, where I was earlier. And this development here, adjoined it, there is a clear demarcation point. Now, on this land behind this brick wall, there's a residential development, but it was in fact a sports area, and there was rugby and football played there. You can see there's the development. And one notable user of the playing fields, certainly back in the, I guess probably 1930s through to the 1960s or maybe 70s, was Chelsea Football Club's junior team that used to use it. So I've been told. Just scan across. Now I will actually, whilst I'm here, I will actually do a little bit of video on this building we're coming up to now, with all the telephone masts on. I have to do it from the other side of the road, sorry. Still here on the A5 Edgware Road. You can see on Stewart Avenue. Just give you a location point. And that building over there in the distance on the other side of the road. Now that was put up in the late 1920s, early 30s, can't remember exactly when. And it was where the company of Edmunds, Walker and Company Limited were based for many years. And if you have a look at that wonderful decoration, very Art Deco, tell me how that building has been allowed to fall into that state. There is loads of fly tipping behind it. If you see that from Google Earth, it's pretty horrific. But I remember that ground in front of that being a flower clock, and there probably is some remains of flower beds there, but it's been completely ruined. God knows what's going on there now. But I tell you what, it's sitting on land which the London Borough of Barnet, or London Barnet Borough, whatever they want to call themselves these days, that is really their sort of responsibility. But is it listed? I don't know. That's where someone tells me, you better get it listed, Mark. And we get another one of these railway hotel Edgware jobs again. I mean, I just think it's very sad. When it gets that bad, you know, you just think, well, just put it down. But I mean, it's very, very sad. Look at that decoration in the middle of the window. Let me just try and zoom in. There you are, if you can see it. That's what I'm talking about. Beautiful ceramic work. That would have cost a lot of money, that. So you tell me, how come the Hoover factory is probably grade 1 listed? I mean, we all get upset about the Firestone factory, but they're sitting on the North Circular as that, falling to pieces. For God's sake, someone, a developer with some imagination, save it and do something with it.